10 years old in a junkyard town. Sunbeam Alpine, windows down. Men twice my size, I learned their names by broken bolts and open flames. Ice at night, steel by day. Weight was truth, it never lied. I didn't dream, I didn't wait. I lifted what was in my way. Hard iron, dust in time. Hands get strong when hunger's mine. You don't ask, you don't pretend. You carry weight until it bends. Hard iron, burned in skin. Boy grows old before he's been. Anything soft falls behind. Just hard iron and time. 15 years in a motel room. Dish pit heat, red sauce fumes. Chef saw something I couldn't name. Put a knife in my hand, taught me flame. Responsibility came fast. Men got quiet, watched me work. Pressure didn't break my back. It showed me who I was worth. Hard iron, earn respect. You're only good as what you fix. No applause, no safety net. Just what you handle, what you miss. Hard iron, steady grind. Identity got forged in line. Nothing pushed, nothing kind. Just hard iron in time. Uniform tight, mind pulled thin. Learn control by boxing in it. Anger leash not thrown away. Put it to work, made it stay. Systems break, I see the seams. I build them straight, I make them run. Didn't notice what it cost. I only noticed what got done. Years stack up like loaded plates. Heart keeps pace, it never complains. You tell yourself you're built for this. That strength forgives, that grit persists. Then one day the body speaks. Not a warning, just release. Cold floor, white lights overhead. Doctors' words don't raise their voice. Heart don't care what you've survived. It doesn't grade your choices. I lay still, felt time slow. Every mile arrive at once. All that iron, all that will. Couldn't bargain, couldn't punch. Hard iron, still beating, but not the way it used to be. You don't outrun, you don't outwork what asked you finally to see. Hard iron, lesson learned. Some weights were never meant to turn. Nothing heroic, nothing kind, just hard iron and time. I didn't stop because I was done. I stopped because I was still here.
Sunlight spills through the cafe door. Mic goes live like it's done before. 9 years deep in these mountain towns, we brew the truth, not just sit around. I came for a visit and stayed for the view, but the soul of this place, it just pulls you through. Mornings in Finlandia, nights in Salento. Life don't move fast, but man, it's full tempo. This ain't a pitch, it's real as it gets. From lost bags to love and bureaucratic regrets. No script here, just the sound of real lives told live every week under Colombian skies. It's coffee time lived from the heart of Quindío, where the screen fades out and the real stories flow from expats who landed and locals who guide. We laugh, we vent, we cry, we ride. It's not about views, it's about the vibe. Just raw conversation, live and alive. Got folks tuning in from every time zone, asking what's it like to make this place your own. It's mango trees, it's rent debates, it's finding peace past the clickbait gates. Some days we talk visas, some days we just breathe and sip dark roast while the valley grieves through mudslides, marches, markets, and mess. We show up with stories, no more, no less. It's coffee time lived, not just a name on a screen. It's 9 years of mornings and everything between. No hype, just heart and a decent brew. A place for the honest, the warm, the true. Not selling dreams, just sharing the ride from right here in Quindío live. And if you've ever felt a little lost or wide awake at dawn, this show was made for you to lean on. We're not tourists here, we belong, we build in mountains mountain towns where the air stands still. So bring your mug, your doubts, your days. We'll light 'em up in soft cafe rays. It's not a podcast, it's a porch-like glow. It's home and a headline, a yes and a no. It's coffee time, live. Come as you are, from my table in Colombia to wherever you are.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel, Grancolombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Armenia, Quindío, Colombia. Right on the dot, getting that timing down. And I look forward, it's great. I look forward to that few minutes when I can kind of rest and relax and chill after the mad scramble of getting ready and listen to those tunes. And I really like those tunes. I'm getting addicted to them. Anyway, today is something special and unique, but I got to hold off exposing what it is until after I basically get through the show. So after the completion of the main topic. So you know what the format is. Usually I'll talk about whatever happened with me during the week, something about my life or whatever. And then I'll do some news headlines, mostly around here in Armenia, Quindío, but anything really important. I'll do 3, 4, 5 of those. And then I roll into a main topic. So it's a particular topic that is anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 minutes long, where I just kind of do a almost nonstop explanation of whatever that topic is. Excuse me. Well, today, that's all going to happen. But then at the end, I'm going to reveal something, and we'll see if you figure it out along the way. It's, I think it's kind of groundbreaking, but we will see. We will see. This week, I had a couple visits, and I had a few contacts. I don't know what happened this week. It was kind of unexpected. Sharik came by. She's moving, and she had an apartment in the building next to me, and she's got a new job that she's very excited about for an international shipping company, and she's getting paid $1 zillion. She's getting very well paid. All excited, but she had to move to Cali, so she packed all her stuff up this past weekend. But she came over to visit, and I was working on a project, so which is all I've been doing lately. So she said, well, just keep working. So I did, and I get engrossed in it, and minutes turn into hours. And it was about 2 or 3 hours later, she came in, and she had an ice water for me. I said, oh, thank you. Thank you, Owen. And I got up, and she had scrubbed the house from top to bottom. Now, it was timely because it wasn't the best health last couple of weeks, and energy came at a premium, and the house was kind of way more of a disaster. I usually keep it up pretty good. I used to be kind of a clean freak. Well, I don't do that so much anymore, but it was always presentable. It had gotten really bad. And so she came in, and she took out the garbage bags that were in the corner, and she did all the dishes and did the laundry and washed the blankets and all kinds of stuff. I said, and I was oblivious to the whole thing, but that was her farewell, thanks for everything, kind of, I don't know. It was very sweet. And she came back later with a friend of hers, Valeria, to introduce her. said, well, if you ever need your place cleaned or whatever, I'll take care of it. Just she'll come by and clean. You don't have to pay her anything. You know, she's just a really good friend. Just treat her well. So I mean, it was very cool. Chad visited from Medellin. He came in, just blew in for a couple days. He's moving here. I think he said in April. He came on a visit 3 or 4 years ago. Very cool guy. He was in the military. He's retired from the military, so he's 40 or whatever it is, and he's very excited to be here, and it's cool. So he went back this morning to Medellin. He thought he'd probably like it there. He came to visit here, but he thought he'd like it. So after he retired, he moved to Medellin. But he came to the conclusion, hence the visit this weekend, he came to the conclusion that while Medellin's got a lot of really cool things, he kind of likes the real Colombia. And the topic today will really fit right into to his story. So it's it's very cool how that worked. It wasn't planned, but cool how that worked out. Plus, I got a message and a 2 or 3 hour long talk with somebody who moved here maybe 5 years ago and was in Medellin, and then moved to Armenia. And now he's living in Bogota, kind of for various reasons. And we had hit it off, and I'm not very close to people in general, but I really liked his company, and so that was cool. We hadn't talked really in, I don't know, ages. And then he connected up, and we just talked a lot. It was a very nice call. So I guess this week was a week for connections, I suppose. I mentioned my health thing. This isn't a pity party. I'm actually doing amazingly well considered what what they had predicted for me. I did have to go. They added a new medicine. One of the issues I had, which I didn't really understand, with the heart thing, I was gaining a lot of weight, and I was already on a medication for the water because it's water weight. And I was on the medication for the water, which is supposed to be, it's your standard package, I guess. But it wasn't working. And it was actually failing to the point where, well, I'll tell you, in 2 months, I put on 13 kilograms of water weight. That's like unbelievable. That's like every day. So anyway, they've added another medicine to me. And it took a few days to kick in, but I'm seeing the effects. And hopefully I can, start to, because I had 2 weeks. It was kind of rough around here, which is, like I said, the place got kind of messy because you just can't get yourself to do something more than a minute or two, and then you're done. Anyway, enough of that. But I've been very productive. These projects I'm working on, I'm loving it. I'm thriving on it. I tell you about how I haven't left the apartment in a long time because of the things I'm contending with. But here's the truth of it. I'm actually loving this time because between the books that I've been doing, oh, by the way, new hardcover, and my latest book is I'm receiving this coming week. It's supposed to arrive Thursday. I'm so excited about that one. I'm actually going to sit down and read that one. It's a real fiction story that's awesome. I'm so proud of it. Anyway, projects like that, the software program that I was writing, of course, videos, so I've poured myself into it to where I'm working 12, 14 hours a day easily, but it's all at a computer. I just get up to kind of stretch my legs. You get tired of sitting, but it's been very intensive, and I've been loving it. No interruptions. It's just been great. And God, I've never done this before. I don't know how you would ever work it into your life, but I would highly recommend having time where you have only yourself and your thoughts as company and applying it to something productive. I don't know, it's pretty awesome. Anyway, yeah, so those say, oh, you're sick and whatever. No, it's cool. Trust me. Let's see. Yeah, so I mentioned what I put about today's video about me being groundbreaking. It's not clickbait. But what I would like you to do is at some point, maybe in the main topic or as I'm finishing up with the main topic, if you know, see, or have clues of what it is I'm talking about, make a comment on it. And then when I reveal it, we'll see if you are able to detect. And here's the thing. Hopefully you don't really notice it until I reveal it, and then it'll become plain as day. But I don't know. We shall see. Let's see. What else do I have? That's it. Let's go to the headlines. And because I don't have a producer, I'm not going to hunt for my little 5-second headline intro. Oh, I'm sorry. We gotta do this. It's going to be a hot one today. It's supposed to get up to 84 degrees. It was already just before the video here. I was out on my balcony. It was pretty toasty out there. Bear with me, drinking my water. It says 77. That was at 10 o'clock this morning. Right now, it says it would be 80. It's probably true. And it's not all that overcast. When I was on the balcony just not long, of course it comes and goes, but it was pretty bright, sunshiny, kind of toasty. It hasn't been like that in a while. Colombian peso, 36.87 this morning. It's been stuck around 3,700 all week. I'm not surprised. Kind of fits in with the video a few weeks ago. And so that's where we're at with that. So now let's get to, B. Nick, buen dia. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here every week. I appreciate it. Olga, pretty much every week. Good morning. Thank you. And Owen, of course, audio, video, good as usual. Rumble rocks. Rumble is awesome. I can't tell you how much, I have told you how much I love it. How much on a creator side, that's what they call us that do videos, right? I don't know. But on this side of the fence, it's heaven and YouTube was hell. From the watching side, I love YouTube. I watch it every morning for certain things. Although, as more of those things move to Rumble, I'm watching more and more Rumble. Because to watch it really depends on the content that's there, right? Is there something you want to see? But on this side, it's light years ahead of YouTube. YouTube got stuck. But why bother? You know, they're king of the hill. Why? They're not doing anything to improve. Rumble is making constant improvements and on this side, and I love it. Giera Becky, hello from Kalarka. Weren't you living in Armenia? Did you just move to Kalarka, or what's going on there? NY retired, morning from Cali. How are you doing? Welcome back, you guys. How long? You've been back for a little while, I know, but I don't remember when. It got disjointed because the names that I was used to you using, either your name or your video handle. Well, then when you came to Rumble and you open a new account, it became something else. And so the connection that I developed over the course of, in some cases, years, all of a sudden it was gone. And so I'm talking to people that I know, maybe I've met, maybe, I've had multiple interactions with, except I don't connect the newish name. Now, NY retired, I'm finally getting the hang of it. But and Chad Tex, well, he made it easy because he's Chad from Texas. And although it's a different handle, it pretty much spells out who I'm talking to. So that's pretty cool. Sipping on my Americano at Cafe Quindío before flying out. Good seeing you, my friends. See you again soon. You will really appreciate the main topic today, Chad, because I mentioned Cafe Quindío, which surprises me. I don't know how that, because I think that's the first local thing that people do related to coffee. Anyway, bear with me. Yes, I thought I would get a little change of scenery. Move or visit? Okay, let's get to the headline. Humanitarian aid route allowed assistance to a foreigner at risk of homelessness in Armenia. It's kind of a sweet story, and because I'm not a very sweet guy, I'm not going to get into the sappiness of it. But it's kind of cool. This is a guy from Ecuador, and he came here, and things didn't work out. Things fell through. He didn't get what he was supposed to get. He ended up here broke, without a job, and no money to get back to Ecuador. Well, group here in Armenia found out about it, met up with him at the bus terminal, which you're seeing right there. They bought him a ticket to Bogota. At Bogota, they've got transportation to take him to the consulate, and the consulate is going to provide him airfare to go back home to where he came from. And it's all very sweet and pleasant and kind of cool. When I was running scared through Colombia with the lost passport, and it's one of the few times in my life I've ever actually felt fear, believe it or not. I know that's a weird statement, but it's a fact. Was when I was running around Colombia illegal because I had lost my passport. And they have severe consequences here, as in most countries do, because I had passed into Colombia illegally. I jumped the border to go to Bogota to get a new passport, and then I had to sneak back across the border back into Ecuador so then I could come back in and get my stamp and do it legally and then proceed from there. But for 2 weeks, I was living on edge because the fines, and they don't mess around. I mean, if you're lucky, they'll just take you to the other side of the border and drop you off and ban you from returning for a while. If you're unlucky, they just throw you in jail. In this case, this guy was here legally, but it was kind of nice that, somebody recognized his plight and went out of their way. Now they have to do that with, probably in Armenia, maybe 10,000 Venezuelans that are stuck here and can't afford to go back home. But we'll see. Owen, have you seen a channel called Somos del Rancho? Nope. 2 girls who cook things in a rustic environment similar to Afro Wahira. No, I don't like to watch other YouTubers about things that I know well, like Colombia. But I will look that up. That sounds interesting. I'll look that up. Thanks. Okay, next headline. Caught. I have this labeled for myself internally, caught. With a spent cartridge in his possession, the alleged perpetrator of the shooting in Santa Helena is arrested. Now, Santa Helena, where is that? That's in Armenia. And it's right here on this map. The arrow at the top, that's exactly where I live. I live right on the border of Armenia and Circassia. I'm just inside the border of Armenia. And then if you look at the one down at the bottom where Armenia gets kind of fat, that's in the south of Armenia, right where that marker is, that's where he was caught and he tried to kill somebody. People saw his weapon like sticking out of his belt or something, called the police. The police were on it in minutes, and he still had the casing in his pocket. And of course, he's arrested, and he's, he'll go to court and he'll go to jail. And it's a story that I put the headline up because if you have tracked these things over the course of my show over time, you'll know that sometime around the middle of last year, there's been a huge concentrated effort to sterilize Armenia of any kind of crime in endless ways. And the effects have been showing up in a lot of ways, statistics and things like that. But what's very cool is, like in this case, something happened. It's not common. It happened. Police are on it in a heartbeat, and the guy's pulled off the streets. It's awesome. It's exactly what you would want to see, and we are seeing it. So consequently, it gets to be a headline. All right, what's next? This is my last headline here. Visit. Be careful there. Calarca's got some areas, but it's also very cool, especially around El Centro and Calarca. And if I'd known you were going, I would have told you about a restaurant, but I don't remember the name of it. I did a couple videos there. It's a very special restaurant in Calarca. Great for lunch. And it's about 4 or 5 buildings down from El Centro, kind of east. Hard to say. I'd have to show you a map, and I can't remember the name of it. But it's worth going out of your way to Calarca to go to that restaurant. Ask me, when we're all done here, because I know it won't be your only time, and I'll point that restaurant out. It's awesome. All right, last headline. Security figures improve for Montenegro. Homicides decrease compared to previous years. This is an important story to me. Now here, if you look, you got Armenia down here in the center, the lower part. You got Pareda up at the top, just to give you some kind of scale. And Montenegro, it's just a handful of minutes outside of Armenia on a main route. That's Montenegro. And you watch the channel, most of you know what I'm going to say you've heard before. Montenegro is a place that I just don't go. And I say, it's the only place I haven't done any videos. Really, well, no, that's not true. Cordoba. But Montenegro, yes, I have done video there. I just left. I just couldn't stand it. There's so much I dislike about the place. And it's really the only place in all of Quindío that I feel that way. But it was severely crime-ridden. And every time there'd be some incident where gangs were trying to work their way in or something, they would be through Montenegro because, it's like almost a crime culture. And it's sad. I hated to see it. Well, again, if you've been following me the last few months, I've thrown a few stories out about Montenegro, about how they're cleaning things up and how they're catching things at the beginning. And it's paying off. Security figures improve in Montenegro. Well, their stats have greatly improved. While I haven't been back there, I asked a friend of mine who used to go there on a regular basis because of his work. And so I checked, and he said, no, I still go there. And I said, well, how is it? I'm reading that XYZ things are happening. And he said, oh man, he says, it's night and day. He said before there were places that he wouldn't even want to get out of his car. And he just feels so much better. Now, that's very anecdotal. It's from a Colombian. I don't say get in your car and go to Montenegro because everything's cool now, because I don't know that. The indications are there. There's certainly improvements in the stats. If I were more mobile, I would go check it out because I'm dying of curiosity. It's not something I can do at the moment. I don't know. Should I be sorry I'm drinking? I got to keep the throat going. All right, that's the end of that. And so now, where are we here? Hold on.
Guess what's hot and happening now? Straight from the source, we show you how. Brew it more, let's break it down. The main topic starts right now. Ow, ow.
Okay. There should be something apparent, but we shall see. Just remember, sometime before I end with the main topic, before I reveal what today's really kind of about, at least for me, make sure that you throw in comment what you think you've picked up on. So now, let me tell you something about how people discover Quindío. I revealed a little about this topic with Chad. No, that's not the thing. They see a YouTube thumbnail, rolling green hills, a Willys Jeep stacked crazily high with bananas and luggage and God knows what. Some guy in a traditional hat grinning like he knows something you don't. They watch 4 minutes of somebody's drone footage and think, okay, I get it. Coffee country, charming, picturesque. And then they move here. And then they spend the first 6 months realizing they had no idea what they were looking at. Now, I've been here on a permanent move since November 2018. So that's over 6 years of Tuesday mornings in this apartment watching, in other apartments, watching these mountains and sit there being quietly spectacular in the background. And I'll tell you plainly, the postcard version of this place is real. If you watch this channel, you know that. But it's maybe 10% of the actual story. And today I want to give you the other 90%. Good morning from Vancouver. How you doing? So coffee arrived in this region in a serious way in the 19th century, 1800s. And the story of how it shaped the eje cafetero is at its core a story of how a commodity crop pretty much becomes a civilization. The colonization of the Western Cordillera, sorry, I stumble over certain Spanish words. Historians call it the Antiochian colonization. That one's a lot easier. It brought settlers who came from what is now Antioquia, like Medellin, and carved farms out of some of the steepest terrain you can imagine. If you ever get a chance, read the story about how Manizales was founded. It's fascinating. And they found that altitude and rainfall and volcanic soil of this specific geography produced something that specialty coffee buyers would eventually recognize as exceptional. For the last 3 years running, the number one coffee in the world, which is judged in Belgium, is from Quindío, Colombia. It's not from Costa Rica. It's from Quindío, Colombia. Anyway, it's not marketing language. It's a geology and agronomy doing their jobs. The elevation here, generally between, for you Canadians, 1,500 and 2,000 meters above sea level in the productive zones, combined with the equatorial light and shade from banana trees, native trees of other sorts, create conditions that are, well, basically it's unfair to coffee growing regions at lower altitudes. The flavor profile that comes out of this geography is clean, bright, and complex, despite the varieties, in a way that requires no added anything to appreciate. It's just good. I mean, it's almost embarrassingly good. Now, here's a part people do not fully appreciate until they live here. The same geography that makes the coffee exceptional is the same geography that makes the climate exceptional. Now, I say this every chance I get, and I'll say it again. The reason Armenia sits at the same perfect temperature most of the year, practically year round. What people claim is the eternal spring thing is the same reason the coffee is good. The altitude that gives you the flavor profile gives you the temperature. They're the same thing. If you're not moving to a nice climate that happens to have good coffee nearby, you're moving into the specific conditions that produce both simultaneously, and you get to experience that every single morning before you've said a word to anyone. That's nothing. Hold on. Libby, good morning. Still from Florida for 2 more days in Olan or Cuenca. Not sure yet. How you doing? Well, anyway, let's talk about Cafe Quindío. It's funny that that's where Chad was this morning, because they're a brand that most visitors and a good number of expats encounter first as kind of a gateway into what this region's coffee identity actually is. And I want to be careful because there's a version of this segment where I just sound maybe like a commercial. Well, I got no interest in that, particularly with a competitor. What I want to talk about is what they actually got right. What Cafe Quindío built is a tourism experience around the full process, seed to cup. They kind of commercialized in a sense what isn't commercial. They made it accessible to someone with zero background in agriculture or coffee production. I mean, I've taken visitors various places and I've watched people arrive thinking coffee was a thing that came from a green bag at Costco, but they leave with a genuine, specific understanding of why a bean grown at the altitude that we have in the volcanic soil that's here with shaded, complex agro ecosystem, why it tastes different from whatever they were drinking at the office back home. That transformation is not trivial. It's one of the reasons people who come here to visit end up wanting to move here. Because you're not just learning about coffee, you're learning about the place. It's not just the coffee. The coffee is the explanation for almost everything else you're looking at. Well, and of course, the prices. I mean, you got to mention this because it's directly relevant to the expat experience. A coffee tour of the quality that's here, the coffee in this setting at the prices charged here would cost you probably 4 times as much in Vermont, maybe 10 times in California, at least. The math that applies to almost everything enjoyable that you can do in Quindío, and it never stops feeling slightly wrong in the best possible way. When you first get here, sometimes you almost feel guilty about pricing. Now, let me talk about what coffee culture actually means in daily life here, because I think this is where the real conversation is. When you live in a coffee-producing region, your relationship with the product changes in ways you never figure would happen. Now, aside from before I had my own coffee, I bought my coffee from a local roaster, maybe, I don't know, a handful of blocks from my apartment. I know the names of the farms that it come from. I've visited them. I've driven past those farms. The altitude where those plants are growing is visible from my window, from my balcony. That connection between the thing in your cup and the landscape outside your window, that's not a curated experience. It's just something that you live with. And you don't pay extra for it. Like I said, I mean, it's just another Tuesday. And it's just how things are. I drink my coffee every morning inside the geography that produced it. You're doing the same thing if you live here. And if you're the kind of person who finds that meaningful, if you're the kind of person who's watching this show in the first place, I promise you, it doesn't get old. It's every day I sit down with my cup of coffee and look at the world around me and feel very grateful that I got to this place in my life. Now, the fincas are another piece of this that gets undersold in the standard expat conversation about Quindío, mostly because they're not familiar with them. people naturally focus on Armenia as the city, which is fair. It's where you want to live generally. The services are here, the hospitals, the apartment rentals, the supermarkets. I mean, things that make daily life functional. But within a 30 to 40 minute drive of Armenia, you're in working coffee country, real farms, generational farms, real production, harvest time, tens of hundreds of people, thousands of people throughout Quindío hired for a couple weeks to come out and pick the red berries. The municipality of Montenegro and Quimbaya, see, I almost choke over mentioning it, but I have to, it's the truth. Montenegro and Quimbaya have the most striking, fruitful agricultural landscape maybe I've ever seen in the world. You talk about a fertile triangle. And you know, I've been to a few places in the world. So the visitor experience around coffee here has matured considerably in the 6+ years I've settled in here. When I arrived in 2018, the coffee tourism infrastructure was good. I mean, we got the coffee park, and there was a few things. There was some thinkers offered kind of almost informal, show up and we'll show you around kind of thing. And even the others, if you showed up at a finca that never had a visitor before, never expected it, the hospitality is so good, they just invite you in and show you around anyway. So what I see now is a much more consistent level of quality. That matters for expats in a very practical way, because it means that when your family comes to visit, when your sister flies down to check out your life choices with that strange look on her face, thinking, in Colombia? There's things for her to do, or your family to do, that are genuinely excellent. So that's not a small thing when you're trying to explain why you live here. And that's all relatively new. All right, we can't leave out Salento. We got to talk about Salento. No honest conversation about coffee culture in Quindío is complete without it. And no conversation about Salento is complete without me acknowledging it's become one of the most visited places in all of Colombia, which means on certain weekends, the main street looks like every cafe in Brooklyn had picked up and relocated here. Now, you have to say it with affection. It's not like they came here and ruined it. Salento is a pueblo at a higher elevation than Armenia. The surrounding area sits with a, excuse me, I start choking. It has this colonial character that's a direct visual expression of the same Antiochian settlement culture that built the coffee economy here. In other words, if you've visited extensively around Medellin and you've been to some of the traditional towns around there, you're seeing Salento that way. They've maintained it. The painted balconies, the wooden facades, the cobblestones. These aren't just restored for tourism. They're what the place looks like because of who built it and why they build it that way. There's a difference between a place that preserves its character and a place that performs its character. Salento is what it is. It's real. With a tourist, granted, having some of the streets packed with humanity can be a little disconcerting, but it's not like that every day. And good for them. But they're still Salento. You feel that distinction within 20 minutes of being there. The Cocora Valley sits just outside of Salento, and it's where you find Colombia's national tree, the wax palm, tallest palm tree in the world. Awesome. It's growing out of a cloud forest in the valley that's so, visually excessive that new visitors sometimes just stand there for a moment. They just look up and don't say anything because there's nothing to say. When you're looking at those mountains, the fog or the clouds, it's really clouds. You'd think it's fog, it's clouds settling down, and watching those palm trees reach for those clouds or hang out in those clouds. It's otherworldly. I've been there more times than I can count. I dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I mean, obviously, the first couple times I went there, I was a visitor. And, even before I moved here permanently, many times since, and the landscape does not become ordinary. It's the kind of thing that resets whatever your current internal standard for natural beauty is. You go there and that clock starts over again. And the road up is exciting in the way that Colombian mountain roads are always exciting. You make sure that you're not too close to the edge. It requires a certain philosophical flexibility about the lanes and gravity. But I want to say what Salento means beyond the day trip, because I think that's more important conversation for people about living here. Salento is the most concentrated, most legible expression of Quindío's cultural identity. When you're there, you're not looking at a reconstruction. You're looking at the culture that's been continuous since colonization. It still organizes itself around the same values: hard work, hospitality, that old Colombian conservatism. There's a specific kind of practical dignity that shaped it in the first place. The relationship between the landscape and the people who work it is still visible, and it's fully intact. And that's not common. In most places that have been heavily touristed, the culture gets kind of hollowed out, very commercialized pretty quickly. And that's not really happened there. I mean, you have a few trinket stores and things like that. But if you step back from those few things, it's still Salento. I mean, I was there 20 some years ago, except for the crowds that show up, it's the same Salento. And so I could say it's not really happened there, at least not to a degree that you would expect. And I think it's because the culture here runs so deep, it's enough to absorb that tourism without being redefined by it. Now I want to say something about hospitality, because it comes up constantly. And I think, I don't know, maybe it gets a little mischaracterized. The hospitality in this region, of course, is extraordinary. And every expat I know who settled here or visits here, they mention it. Usually unprompted, usually with a kind of mild disbelief in their voice. I can't believe how nice they were to me. And people tend to describe it as friendliness towards tourists, which is, I suppose it's technically accurate, but it really kind of misses the point. This kind of hospitality predates tourism and expats by generations. It's structural to a culture that was built by people working steep mountain terrain together, depending on neighbors in ways that people in large American cities generally no longer do, if they ever did. And it's not performed for your benefit. It's just how people operate here. That doesn't mean that the expat experience here is frictionless. I want to be clear, because one of the things I try to do in coffee time is give you an actual picture, not the version that's going to sell tickets. I could care. But there's cultural gaps. There's language barriers. There's a bureaucratic frustration that would test the patience of a monk. I had to relive some of those. When I set up the coffee business, I went through over a year's struggle dealing with endless bureaucracy, and hence the statement. Anyway, there's days when you're going to feel very far from home in ways that have nothing to do with geography. Those things are real. And I talk about them in other episodes, but the base layer of human warmth is here. It's real. It's built in. And the thing that is present every day, not just when you need it, is something real. And I'm speaking of the coffee region in particular now. I'm not talking about everywhere in Colombia. Once you've experienced as a daily constant rather than an occasional encounter, you find it very difficult to leave. And I've told those stories in the past about moments of kindness that people have reported to me that came, for visiting, and that people who have lived here for a few years. It's always the same, and it's always there. When I went through the riots and had all those people around that were basically there to protect me, and I didn't know a single person, I didn't know any of them. It's something special here. Now, I didn't move here because specifically of that warmth. I moved here for some historical memories. I didn't know it was here that way all the time. Now it's part of what keeps me here. And I didn't expect that when I moved here. Now I want to say something about biodiversity, because you always have to mention that, because it's part of this picture and it's important. It plays into the coffee. Quindío is one of the most biodiverse departments in Colombia, which is one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet. The coffee does not grow in isolation. It grows alongside banana trees. That shade matters, but also fruit trees of all kinds, some you've never heard of. The native vegetation of the Andean cloud forest is also here in Quindío. What you're looking at when you drive through coffee country here, it's not a monoculture. It's a complex ecological system that's been managed and adapted over generations. The farms are alive in a way that industrial agriculture is not. These farms have been integrated into the ecosystem that's here. They've become one with it. And that complexity is part of what shows up in the coffee cup. It matters. When you drink a coffee here that was grown in altitude specific to a farm and by people that know the land the way you know the back of your hand, who have worked it for years and understand its specific microclimate to that farm and the specific soil and its shade patterns, that cup tastes different. It's not because your taste buds change, it's because your context change. You know what it took. You appreciate it. That's what living here does over time. It changes your context in ways that makes ordinary things seem extraordinary. So if you're weighing Quindío as a place to actually live and not just visit, maybe not just Instagram, but to build a daily life here, like Becky. It's what coffee culture means for your practical reality. It means you live in a place with a strong, coherent cultural identity that predates tourism and gives the region a kind of rootedness, traditional, that you feel but can't always explain in an email to your family. I find it very difficult to express what's in my head about this topic, for example. It means you have access to some of the best coffee in the world at prices that are, by American standards anyway, embarrassing. It means that the landscape is beautiful, not despite the agriculture, but because of it, because of the way they do it. The farms and the natural environment are so intertwined here in ways that produce the character of the place. I mean, visually and every other way. It means there is constantly available set of excellent experiences to share with people who visit you, which matters more than you think. And it, at least when somebody actually visits you, and then you really appreciate it. It also means, and You're living inside a working economy. These are not theme parks. These farms, they're real farms. The people working them are subject to global price swings and climate variability, La Nina, El Nino, labor costs, policy decisions made in Bogota that may or may not have been thought through very well. Being a respectful observer and participant rather than a consumer who floats pleasantly above everything, that's part of living here as well. The people who do best here, long term, are the ones who understand that they moved into a community that was here long before and will be here long after, and who carry that awareness without it being some performance. So, Cafe Quindío, Chad, other people that got back in touch with me this week, Sharik being part of the coffee culture, all of these things put together within this topic today. It's the life that I'm living. Now, I've gone on long enough on this because my throat's about to fall apart. I've said pretty much everything I have to say. Now I'm going to come up with a reveal. I will give you a few minutes. I'm going to go over some, there were some chats there. I'm going to go over those. I'll give you a few minutes. By now, absolutely, those of you longtime watchers probably have some sense of what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me go over the chat here. Libby, good morning, still from Florida. Oh, I mentioned that one. Worried about rains and landslides that may be on the road to Cuenca from Guayaquil. You would think by now that they would solve that problem. It's crazy that they don't. Web designer. Oh, clever. Good morning. Libby, I like Salento a lot. I'm going to have to learn to like coffee. I moved here because I like the area, not the coffee. I've never been a coffee drinker, and my first coffee that I drank, I tasted coffee and go, what the, horrible. But the first coffee I drank was over in Asia when I was in the Marine Corps. I was in aviation. We're flying in millions of hours in helicopters and getting no sleep. And there was always, everybody's drinking coffee. And so I started drinking that coffee. And if I recall, it was the, not Folgers, it was in a blue can, maybe one of the most popular coffees of the time. I'm drawing a good to the last drop, maybe. And I would drink that coffee, and I would hate it, but I would drink it because you were drinking it for the caffeine. And then I went for years, I don't like coffee, I don't drink coffee. And it wasn't until in upstate New York, when I was living back there, when the coffee culture of, we'll say Seattle, maybe, I never officially traced it, but it was springing up there. And there was this, the first place that nobody was really going to, but it was notable, was a coffee shop. Well, we didn't really have those. You know, you had, you go into a restaurant and it's, decaf or caffeinated. You know, you got the pitcher with the red thing or the regular one. And all of them had been sitting there for hours. And, you know, the truck driver said they were lucky if they got it where it boiled down to syrup. I mean, that's what coffee was until this place. I don't remember the name of it. It was something like the Coffee Bean. And you go in and it was kind of cool. They had cooler than I was. They had the beanbag chairs and the weird art on the walls, homemade stuff. You know, it was hippie central. And I went in, I was to meet somebody there. And I was earlier than I expected. So I go up and I get I got a cappuccino. I sat down. It was in a bowl with a handle. I sat down, I drank it, and it's like, holy shit, this is good. What the hell is this? What'd you put in it? Coffee. So my eyes awakened. And it wasn't long after I started experimenting making coffee at home, trying to repeat that first experience and worked on it from there. Even today, I don't drink that much. I drink probably 6 to 8 cups a week. 8 cups would be unusual. Average is probably 6 cups a week. But I love it. I mean, it's part of my ritual. I look forward to it. And I absolutely love the taste. And it's one of those things where I don't want to just drink it. I have no reason to just drink it. I want to savor the moment. And by waiting until the next morning to take it at 6 o'clock in the morning, it keeps it special for me. I know I'm weird. What can I say? Wait a minute here. We got, wait a minute. Let's see. Gonna have to learn about coffee. I like the area, not the coffee, understand? Maxwell House. Yeah, thank you. I think that was it. That's in the blue can, right? I think it was good to the last drop. I kind of remember a cup on its side with a drop, like this little golden drop coming out of it. They were big can. It was Marine Corps. It was big cans. I have felt more comfortable here than I did in my own country. I'm so glad I chose this area, and your videos really helped me make that change. Thank you. Just so you know, I'm not trying to change anybody, and I'm not trying to get people to come here. These are for me. Now, I do want people to know the truth, be it good, bad, and different. A lot of people have no interest in living the kind of life that I live here. A lot of people want to live in Medellin or Bogota, and that's fine. I don't care what people want to do. I'm motivated to be honest about it so people have a good picture of reality, of what reality is. And it's why I share more things than I'm ever comfortable with about my own life, because it gives context to what my life is and what I experience. I don't take joy in telling you I got a new medication today, but it matters about why I'm not out and about and looking at things like Montenegro, and why I can't tell you that firsthand and vouch for it. I'm not going to pretend that it's something I know if I haven't gone there to see the change. And so that's a big focus on the channel for me is, you want to be honest about those things. But when it really boils down to it, I continue doing it because it does something for me. That's the thing. It allows me something, which I'm not even always sure of. I drink coffee 2-3 cups a day for many, many years. I grew up in Europe. My taste for coffee is different than most people in North America. Coffee in Armenia is amazing for sure. Loved it, missing it right now. Yeah, most of the world, they're into the roast and not the coffee. But that's because most of the world doesn't get coffee like we get here. Here, it's a crime. If you dark roast a coffee from here, you've ruined it. You will never taste anything that I was just talking about. You'll taste the roast. But if what you're getting is average coffee, which is what most of the world gets, because that's all you can afford to grow commercially, then dark roast works. It works out. Okay, now I'm going to reveal, and no one has guessed, which blows my mind. All right, as you know, if you watch my personal channel, I did an entire demo there, and I've talked about it a few times. One of the projects I've been working on is a software program that's entirely driven by a university accessible research program. It's not AI, it's a research program that is superior to anything Google or whatever will ever give you. It's amazing. It's based on that and AI. And it's built-in choices of every AI you can imagine, plus some offshoots. They're all available. And it's for pictures available as DALL-E and Nano Banano 2. So it's fully fleshed out. It's right here, this program. I have been working on this for weeks, and it's almost done. It's in the hands of a few beta testers. If you're interested, I probably still have another week and a half. I can have it in beta testing, and you can run it for free. It's for people who make live videos. And I won't go into the long explanation, but it takes hours and hours and hours to put together one. I've managed to cut it down to 15 to 20 minutes. And as an example is today. This week, between my health and all the things I was doing, I was almost going to call off coffee time today. I was exhausted. Last night, I kind of knew it. I'd hit the wall. Actually, Chad was visiting me, and he was here for a few hours. And by the time we got towards the end, I had hit the wall. I mean, I could barely sit up. I didn't tell him that, but it was a rough moment. And I'm thinking, I can't do coffee time. So I woke up this morning and I said, oh my God, you got to force yourself to go do your routine things. It was not a good morning, but I don't want to not do the coffee time. My program is half a heartbeat away from going public. I used the program to create today's coffee time. It's pre-programmed in what the channel's about and all the information. You do that one time in the setup. So it's all programmed in. I had no intention of doing this, but it was either that or what. So I went to the program and I selected topics. It spit out, it'll give you 5 different topics, and you can do 5 more off of that research engine. Well, I saw this one. I said, well, that's kind of perfect. It was the second topic in the list. So I selected that. I then had it do a complete research search, took about 5 seconds. And then I chose 2 different AIs because I figured as long as I'm testing it. So I wrote a script with Gemini, which is a free AI. And so I wrote a script with that. And then I wrote it with Anthropic, which is my preferred, and I have an account with them. But so I wrote it with Anthropic. Both of them produced the script. I did this one today on the main topic. I did not pre-read it. I didn't know what to expect. I wanted to pre-read it because I was very nervous. I was kind of scared about what I was going to get. But I figured this is a test. Because if it's bad, people are going to tell me because I said, if you see anything out of the ordinary, let me know. Did it sound like me? Does it sound like how, when I do a main topic like this, like the Jeep one, that was entirely me. Was it anything like that one? Well, so I did those. I chose the Anthropic. I have the other one so that I can compare them later. I know that this one here is, in reading it, is very close to the way I talk. There was a couple things, but you may not have seen. I changed a word here or there as I went through, just because I was not comfortable with it. But it was almost 99.9%. This was produced out of that program. The thumbnail that you are looking at today, which is this one right there. I did not put a prompt in. I didn't tell it anything. All I did was post my little picture on the right side. All the rest of it was done by the program. So I ran the program. It took me about 18 minutes from start to finish for everything you just saw. I pick, not count the headlines and the weather thing. Of course, I do those. I have to pick those out. I actually could set that up to do it, but I didn't. I wasn't planning this, and that's just something I can do real quick. So okay, I'm going to do it, and so let me get those out of the way. When I sat down, did the program, and went through, choosing a topic and doing all the things that you need to do, 18 minutes. Now that I've told you, feel free to say what you think. I mean, of course, now that you know, it's hindsight, but was it close? Did it ring true? Did it seem real? Did it voice my experience? Did it voice my point of view about things here, of what you know about me for the last however many years you've been watching? Was this something that came from me? Or did it come from that program? I've searched everywhere, and this particular type of program doesn't exist anywhere I can find it. And I wrote it for me, but I am going to try to put it up for sale because it's turned out to be so freaking awesome. And today I am really happy with what come out, because as I'm reading this, it feels like I wrote it. And it makes sense because of the way I designed the program, but still to actually have it come out. Now I've run these things, not doing a program, and I've kind of skimmed over them, and it's like, okay, just kept working it and refining it until I got to that point. But this is the first time I've actually gone through the entire thing and treated it as though I'm doing it live here on the fly, and I'd never pre-read it. That's not an easy thing to do. And if it wasn't in a way that I operate, it would have been a real struggle. And it wasn't. It came natural. Was a little different, but very close. It was maybe a little long. That was the thing I noticed. It's like I would have wrapped up by then, and my natural energy just kind of started falling flat at the end. And that's something I noticed, but it's really kind of on me. Plus, I set it up. You can choose 3 to 5 minutes. You can choose how long you want this to be. And I put 20 plus minutes, which was kind of stupid. I probably should have put 10 to 20 minutes, but I figure if I'm jumping off a cliff, let me let me take a run and leap first. Owen, I did not notice a difference. Yeah, I kind of feel that way, except the end, and that's probably something only I would most likely notice. Is it live or is it Memorex? Could have fooled me, and I've been watching you for 8 years. Yes, Mr. Beanett, you have been there forever. An active supporter of the channel, definitely appreciate it. And that's good to know, because I'm ready. I've got a few technical things to wrap up. I have an education, computer engineering, goes back a BS degree to the 80s, just for something to do. And during the course of it, you have to learn languages that are dead languages. It's like learning Latin today. I mean, there's still things you can pull from it. I learned COBOL and I learned Fortran, things like that. This required, even with AI, and I use Claude AI Code for this program, it required, you could have it do it, but it'll be a mess. And the fact that I could draw on really more of the logical principles than the specifics of coding, but I was able to give a firm direction to what we were doing with this thing that allowed this to happen. But it was AI. If it wasn't for Claude Code and other tools that I used along the way with this, I couldn't have done this. I couldn't have sat down. It's in Python, and it's very closely related to some of the things I learned. That was, how long ago was the 80s? it's like forever ago. As I was working on this, it started to come back. And the cool thing about Claude Code was it would do something, and I'd say, "Okay, I see what you did, but I don't know why. Explain it." And it would explain it at whatever level I asked. So I wanted it to be uh, verbally technical, so that I could understand it. It didn't have to be hold my hand, but give it to me in words so I can get it. And so it helped me. And after the first week, I got really good at it, to the point where twice while I was doing this, I caught mistakes that it had made and pointed them out. And I was of course, very proud of myself over that. Yeah, it's maybe about a month. Oh, wait, I didn't notice a difference, but I've only been watching a couple weeks, maybe about a month. Yeah, well, that's good. More feedback, the better. Feel free to write whatever. So that's the story. That's what's going on today. I feel it's kind of groundbreaking because unless you know, I would love to know if there's something else. I had all the AIs do a search. I asked Grok and I asked Gemini and I asked GPT, all of them, to go out and search for a program like this. And what I did was I gave them all a copy of the program, because they all have coding ability. So they all could strip it down and see the nuts and bolts of what this program is, aside from what it is for a user. And so you can't get a better, description than that. And I had them go out and check it, and they couldn't find anybody that was doing any program like this. And I've got ideas for modules that would just expand its usefulness, but it's very cool. I get 5 hours of my life back every week. If I want to take a good, inexpensive course on AI, what would you suggest? If you want free, on my personal channel, I got a bunch of videos that I've made. There's 2 of them. One of them is like the ABCs of AI. It's step 1, do this. Step 2, here's what your interface will be. Here's the difference. And then there's a second one that's similar to that. Then I got a bunch of them that just talks about AI in general. I've got a couple that I'm going to be putting up soon that are more advanced, because all I have talked about in those videos so far is AI chat, because that's what people work with. But with Anthropic, you also have you have what is it? Work desk work. What is it? What the hell is it? I'm drawing a blank here, and I use it. Co-work. I don't pay attention to the titles. Co-work. You've got chat, you got co-work, and you've got code. And with GPT, for example, you got codex, and they all have those different things. Gemini, best way to work through them is Studio. Gemini has this amazing fleet of modules to use. It's unfortunate that their basic AI kind of sucks. The stats are great. They play to the stats, but functionally they're horrible. Nobody comes close to Anthropic currently. Now, next month, probably change. I suspect that by summer, Grok is going to blow past all of them from XAIs for some very specific reasons. But who knows? We'll see. I mean, it's the improvements that 2 years ago came in 6 months to a year, who last year came every 3 months, are happening almost daily now. It's crazy. That book right there, that's a nonfiction book. I have a 10-page free sample of some good stuff out of that book that if you're interested in AI, take a look at it. It's pinned at the top here. Oh no, that's book reviews. Okay. Yeah, I'll mention up at the top here. Podcast book reviews. It's pinned at the top. What that is 3 of the books that I've written. There's podcasts of 2 people discussing the books, each book one at a time. It's 3 podcasts, one at a time. They run from, I think, around 20 minutes to one's almost 50 minutes for the 3. But if you go to the website, grancolombia.live, you go to that website. Let me find, hold on. grancolombia. There it is, grancolombia.live. If you go there, you'll see in the contents tabs, depending if you're on your phone or whatever, there's one called books. So it's grancolombia.live/books. If you click on that link, it will take you, there'll be a picture of the books, book covers. There's a middle button there that says it's a free sample or something like that. Click on that. It's a PDF. It'll open up in your browser. You can save it or whatever, but it'll open up in your browser. It's a PDF file, and it's 10 pages out of that book. Easy read. And remember, it's a nonfiction. I wrote maybe a quarter to a third of it. The rest of it's all documentation. It's all pertinent proof. So that's there. All right. Are we done? What is my personal channel? It is Rumble. Lauren David Lau. If you look at the main account here is grancolombia. So this with the little coffee time logo in it, it's one channel, and there's 3 in total. So you got the main account, grancolombia, and it's got the grancolombia logo. And within it, there's 3 channels. There's SaneinColombia on Rumble. And then you have Coffee Time Live. And then you have another one that's really not important. I think it's book reviews or something like that. I don't know. It was a channel. It doesn't matter. It's not important. There's nothing really there worth watching at this point. So SaneinColombia is my personal channel. And I have AI stuff categorized because it's mixed in with all kinds of stuff, politics, which I don't do here unless it's Colombian, opinions that I don't do here, but it's my personal channel. It's kind of my outlet. So, but I'm really so immersed in the AI thing, it just prompted me to do videos. There's probably 8 or 9 there right now. I've got already planned double that. I've got 6 of the topics already written and waiting. All right, so I think that's it. Any last comments? Good, bad, and different of my little experiment today? Sorry, you were kind of guinea pigs, but like I say, it wasn't planned, and it's kind of the reason I actually ended up doing a coffee time today. When I'm done here, I'm gonna go find an armchair and kick back and chill for a couple hours. I give it. There's a little time lag. I'll give it a second for any kind of comments, and then I will bid you farewell. I had a nice crowd of people gathered watching today. I still got some diehards over on my personal YouTube channel. I no longer use the grancolombia channel over there. I stopped maybe 2 months ago. So what's there is what was there for years, but nothing's getting added to it anymore. I had a personal channel on YouTube like this, but now everything I'm doing here, whether it's personal or whether it's Coffee Time Live or whatever it is, it's all getting dumped into that because that is an experiment. That's probably going to go away in a month or so. But currently, I'm doing something with that for myself. It just happens to be there. So people that like the stuff that I do, but you kind of stuck on YouTube, understand that that will go away at some point. Plus, there are things you have access to in YouTube or in Rumble that you won't have access to in YouTube. So I think it kind of matters. All right, that's it. I will see you. Well, I'll see you on my personal channel. Thursday, I've locked down as a SaneinColombia day, 11 o'clock in the morning every week, just like coffee time is Sunday at 11. But I've got through the week, I'll probably be dropping a few others. So that's it. I will see you at least next coffee time. Feel free to write. Ciao.